So this is my 1.6 HDI Peugeot Partner engine, 2007. It's traveled roughly about 105,000 miles, and you always get these in the shops or everywhere. You get these diesel fuel system cleaners or injector cleaners or what have you, whatever you want to call it. And I always wonder, do they really work? Do they really clean the engine? Do they really clean the injectors? Are they cleaner after you put this in the fuel? So I bought this quite expensive premium BG245 diesel fuel system cleaner, and it's quite expensive. I think it was roughly about 23 British pounds. So if you really want to see with a fairly simple test if this works, stay tuned. So this BG245, what does it contain and what does it do? So apparently it has this PEA, it's all in the description of the video, PEA or polyetheramine, or it's also called Tecron, and it was apparently created originally. So this is the 45V, which is the same thing. It was created by Chevron as a fuel additive. Apparently, that's what on the internet everybody says, is that the same product is added to Shell V-Power diesel V-Power. So this really kind of not so much for the performance, but for the cleaning of the fuel. Of course, it doesn't really say much on the description what it contains. But the thing is that if you read the description in Amazon or anywhere else where it's sold, with any reviews, it increases power, cleans, no smoking, increases miles per gallon and so on, and it decreases consumption. It's just this amazing thing. So I decided, I have to check this out and have to really do it. So basically how it works, so you exhaust your fuel tank as much as you can, pour this in the fuel tank, filling up to the top with, say, whatever your maximum of your tank is. Mine is roughly about 60 liters. So put this at the bottom, put 60 liters, drive as you normally would. Potentially a lot of stops and goes, not just one single journey. So the fuel lines and the injectors get soaked with the thing and this polyetheramine that is actually pretty good solvent, and it dissolves these carbon particles and so on. So the idea, how am I gonna test this? It's fairly easy. It's not entirely conclusive, a semi-scientific kind of approach. So what I'll do, and I'll really hook up currently as currently, so I haven't really put this cleaner yet. So this is just how it is. So I'll hook up the return of the injectors, the lines of the 4 lines, run the car for 3.5 minutes, see how much fuel has been returned from the injectors, do this 3 times, get an average of that. Then put the BG245, run it about for 500-600 miles. I'll see when is the minimum I can go the car with, and then do the same test, see how much the injectors are returning. So the idea is, because the injectors are slightly clogged, so this is supposed to clean them. So let's imagine this returns 10 milliliters, each injector returns, well, let's say 10 milliliters per minute or something like that. So when this cleans it for roughly about 500-600 miles, they should return actually less. So if an injector is really blocked, it returns a lot, because the fuel is under pressure, and if it's really blocked, it kind of returns quite a lot. So the more it returns, the more clogged the injector is. So this should be actually, with this, the return should be actually less. The amount of fuel that is returned should be less. Let's see how it goes. If you want to really see how you can do the injector testing, how much it returns, so you can see this video here. So I'll be using this kit that is actually fairly simple. I'm trying to position it somewhere. It's actually very simple kit. So you have these multiple tubes and bottles. So basically you connect these tubes, this kind of silicone tubes to the injectors. I think it's I'm using 01 for mine, so this goes on the top of the injector. So see this video that I pointed, it's also in the description of the video, so you can click on the video, check it out how it is. So this is put on the return of the injectors instead of the return pipe, and then you kind of run the car on idle. You don't really give it the beans. You don't give it a high RPM. You run it and see how much fuel has been returned in the 4 kind of different injectors. Well, that's it for that. I mean, I don't really have much else. I'll be using a kind of a cylinder up to 100 mil just to check exactly, well, exactly plus minus 1 or 2 milliliters, because this is up to 100 milliliters, this cylinder, but it's good enough. I mean, it's semi-scientific study. I mean, I know it will vary plus minus some milliliters. So one thing I forgot to say, one thing. Somebody in my previous suggested that these tubes actually they have a really good seal here at the top. So when the fuel comes in, this creates a kind of a seal and doesn't want to push it, so it kind of stops it. So what I've done, I've drilled a hole, just a really small hole there. So when the fuel comes in, so the air could be displaced, so it will be easier and it won't be blocked. But basically it's the same. I'm only using 4. These I'm not using. Basically it's the same. I've just drilled a really a small hole in each of these. So there won't be really much talking because it's basically, I'll do this 3 times, initially 3 times, then I'll put in the BG245, then I'll drive for about 500-600 miles and then do the test again. So not really much talking, it will be on speed up. But check the video, this original video, if you want to see how it's been done in a more slower way. So enjoy. So here is how the final setup looks like for the first run. This is really suspended on kind of the bonnet, and the 4 for the 4 cylinders. So the cylinders really are numbered 4, 3, 2, 1. So this is 4, 3, 2, 1. They connected there. Let me see. So they connected there with those. This is the 0 number 1, and basically now I'll run it for exactly 3.5 minutes. Next thing is really to pour the BG245 diesel fuel system cleaner in the full tank, and with the funnel it's basically like a can opener, so it's fairly easy. Okay, so that was a lot of skipping through testing, but just to recap what I've really done. So I really exhausted, well, basically I drove the car quite a bit, so the fuel in the tank that was left was really minimal. I don't know how many liters, but it wasn't that much. It was the needle on the fuel tank was really low. It was quite low. I mean, I roughly drove about 600 miles or so on one tank. So then I measured how much fuel do the different injectors return. So it's 4, 3, 2, 1. That's how they measured. 3 times for each. Then I poured the BG245 in the fuel tank. Put fuel. I used Texaco normal diesel on top of the BG245. Then I drove roughly about 600 miles until I've almost utilized the whole tank of diesel. Then, and this wasn't really just motorway. This was in the roughly about a month and a half, 2 months, well, month and a half. So it was a lot of stop and go. There was some motor or highway traffic. Then I really measured again each injector, how much fuel it returns 3 times. Using the same technique, using the same measurements, and then the same exactly 3.5 minutes for running time, and I have this this timer. So if you really want to see how I actually do this return and what does it mean, you can check it. It's in the description. So all these are really in the description of the video. So now let's see what the results look like. Okay, so here how the data looks like. This is an Excel file with all of these numbers. So I'll have the numbers actually in the description of the video. So here is injector 4 from left to right, injector 3, injector 2, and injector 1. See, so here the 3 times that I recorded 3 different times. So the first time I recorded before pouring the BG245. The second time I recorded without pouring the BG245, and then the third time. So this is ING, means injector 4 first time, injector 3 first time, injector 2 first time, injector 1 first time, then injected 4 second time, injector 3, injector 2, injector 1. So here, see, these are the mean values, the median values across for these per each of these injectors, the standard deviation, then per minute. So I also have the really how much. So these are milliliters per minute, how much each injector returns, because on the internet you can read variety of different parameters, but somewhat a consensus parameter is that if an injector is good in these 1.6 SGI engines, each injector has to return less than 25 milliliters per minute. And these actually, all of these recordings really a lot less than 25 milliliters. How accurate this is, I have no really, I don't really know. But the more interesting way to display this is kind of in a graph, and I have this data here. So this is really the first time I recorded those. So this just represents kind of the distribution. So this is milliliters on the y-axis, milliliters return fuel. So this is the first time without the BG245. So this is injected from the left to right, injector 4, injector 3, 2, and 1. This is basically the same data. This is the black line, horizontal line is the median. And injector 3 really returns quite a lot more than the rest. So injector 4 and injector 2 roughly about the same, 30, I don't know, 32 probably. Let me see, injector, it's roughly about, median is 32, mean is also 32. So 32, 45 or something, 32, and then this is roughly about 38. So this is the first time. And if I really plot the second time, after the BG245, 244, okay, well, it shouldn't be 244, actually, here it should be 245, because 244 is for petrol engines and 245 is for diesel engines. And so plotting the second one, so this is injector 4 second time, injector 3 second time, injector 2 second time, injector 1 second time. So each of these is always really much more returning, much more fuel. In other words, even after this BG245, it didn't really clean the injectors. What actually happened is actually they're slightly more blocked than even been before. If I calculate really statistical significance of this, is not really significant, so it's within kind of margin of error, so they will go up and down. If I do it once more time, so probably be about there, but there isn't really any difference with this BG245, so this should really BG245, not 244. So it really, there is a not, so this is the first time, so this is the injector 4 first time, injector 4, 3 first time, 2 first time, 1 first time, and then after the BG244, injector 4, injector 2, 1, and well, 2 and 1. So the idea is that this should have been right here, should be somewhere around here. This one should be here, this one should be about there, or at least about here. So what it means is that when an injector, if it's blocked, it really returns, because the pressure, this is the fuel is under pressure, and if you have a particle that has blocked the injector, it really just returns most of the fuel rather than going through the injector. And in that case, these and these are really, all of them are really quite high. Well, there's a quite a considerable variability, but they're just consistently above. I mean, it's semi-scientific experiment. It's not a perfect experiment. And it doesn't really show if the lines are cleaned. I completely agree with that, but at least shows something that it doesn't really clean with this simple experiment doesn't really clean injectors that well. So all this data, you'll have it in the video, so in the description of the video. So yeah, for me this BG245 doesn't really do anything, it hasn't cleaned anything, so hopefully that was useful. Please let me know for any comments in the comment section, and now if you really have something that really works and unblocks injectors, let me know. I might actually test it, but don't say, well, how about this, how about that. This will take quite a while, but if you know that something really works, I might as well try it. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Hopefully that was useful, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.